Hey plant people, welcome to another monthly favorites video. Thank you so much for being here. I am going to start this month's video, which will be for May because I'm a little bit behind. I'm going to start off with some plant updates, namely new leaves that are super fun. So we're going to start with those. I'm going to show you a few of the cool ones that have popped out, and then we're going to move on to my monthly favorites. And I have got 6 monthly favorites this month. So we're not going super crazy this month. I've had a lot going on. I'm behind because I wanted to do that Anthurium video collection deal first, which was my last video that went out. But we're back on track, and we're going to start with my ongoing confusion with my Philodendron Ring of Fire. If you have watched any of my previous, I think it was my monthly favorite videos when I started talking about this plant, but if you haven't, I got this plant on vacation. When we were bringing it back, the leaf, its new leaf that it was putting out, rotted in the sheath, and it just turned her world upside down. So now she's put out this crazy, whatever the heck is going on here in the middle. This was just like a few weird looking spikes, but we have since put out a new leaf. So we have one leaf that has come from the new growth, which strangely enough wasn't even from the spike. It's like from this other growth point that activated in the background. But we still have all of this business going on. So we've got, I'm fairly certain these two are going to be new leaves. So we've got these two in the front, this one, which is the new leaf that just came out, this one, which looks like it's going to be a new leaf. So maybe 3 leaves here. And then in the back, we've got more. So we've got 2 more back here that could be a new leaf. So this is just going to be crazy. This is like such a fun journey to share with you guys. Like, what the heck is going to happen with this Ring of Fire? Because it literally, so it put out the 1 leaf, and then it looks like it's putting out 3 new leaves with a potential 2 more. So 6 leaves potentially at once that this has decided to put out. So we'll see. You know, who knows? Some of these could just kind of like fail or rot off or stop growing. But this could be really interesting if this ends up keeping like all 5 growth points and it's just always putting out 5 leaves at once. That does sound a little chaotic, but I think it will be fun to watch it unfurl as long as the plant is still like healthy and not dying, you know, so the next one, this is my Monstera Standleyana Aurea. This plant was the bane of my existence for so long. I had her originally like in my main plant space because I was so psyched for it, because these plants are just like, they're gorgeous. Their variegation is gorgeous. And I'm not like super into like the climbing, like traily, viney monsteras as much. And I decided to give this one a shot because I really like the variegation. I got it as a baby plant from the Green Escape, I think. And this has been literally probably at least a year ago. And all it did was put out vines. So it would put out vines, no new leaves. So she had like 3 crusty, dusty leaves and a bunch of these like lanky vines with no leaves, no sign of growth of new leaves on them. And it just drove me insane. So I totally cut it back. Did I propagate it? I think I did. So I think what I did is I cut it all the way back. I had a couple of propagations that I made that I stuck back in the pot. So she has like 2 vines, and then there's like a 3rd one that's coming up from the dirt. And again, she just would not do anything. So, and I tried like different lighting, different soil, you know how it is. Like you try everything under the sun and it's just like nothing's happening. So she really peed me off, and I just stuck her in my bathroom window and totally forgot about her. Like I would water her occasionally when I was doing my rounds, but nowhere near as much as I should have. And I went back to check on her, and like I had noticed that she was putting out some new leaves, but honestly I just didn't care because I was to that point where I was like, I feel like I'm probably not even gonna keep this plant. Like this is the last ditch effort that I have, that I'm investing in this plant that's a pain, a total pain. And I went and I checked on her, and this is what her leaves looked like. Oh, this is gonna be difficult to show y'all because of the pole. Look at this, look at this leaf right here. What the heck is that? Where did this come from? This is gorgeous. Look at that leaf. And then even the leaf before that. Wow. And on the other vine, the new leaves. Wow. So she has just totally gone off. I don't know what it was that motivated her to do that. Maybe it was she sensed that she was about to get thrown out, so she decided to change her ways. But now I'm feeling a little bit more motivated to keep her alive. So I repot her because she was getting a little bit root bound. Repot her, gave her a moss pole for her to climb up. And I moved her back into my main growing space, which is, it's like my dining room area that's like kind of like behind my living room. And we'll see. So I'm hoping she doesn't like, now that I'm like taking care of her again, just like totally give up on life for the third, fourth, I don't even know what we're on now. But yeah, we're going to give it one last go with this gorgeous variegation. I just cannot get over this leaf. That's one of the prettiest leaves I've ever seen. So yeah, we're gonna hope that she sticks around and continues doing this. This one's a little bit harder to see because it is a new leaf that we're gonna be talking about that has not totally expanded yet. This is my Anthurium Vittarifolium variegated. And looking at this on the viewfinder, this may be difficult to show y'all, but so this plant does have pretty good variegation. So I was very lucky to find one who had really nice variegation. I think this was her, no, this wasn't her newest leaf. I think that one was the last newest leaf, the one I just showed you. But this one also has like really nice, it's kind of like yellowy, like Aurea type variegation. But she has put out, I have her in like a hanging shelf, like right in the window. And this is the leaf that she put out. So it's really hard to tell on camera, but this one is like super variegated. You can kind of tell like how yellow it is. So I'm just so excited to see this expand. And hopefully this one will be a little bit bigger too. But I'm just imagining this one when it matures a little bit more with these like really long, big, variegated leaves. Hopefully you can kind of see that. This is really hard to show against my hand. The camera is confused. But yeah, we'll see. So that one was a fun discovery. Okay, last new leaf update. So this is my Philodendron Giganteum Blizzard. He has been being a little bit difficult in the past just because I couldn't figure out like where to put him, where he was getting enough light, but not too much light. And I think I have figured it out now. Or maybe it's just been that like some time has passed and he's gotten acclimated and now he's like happy to be growing here. All of the previous leaves, like by no means is this variegation bad, but it was just like not exactly what I was wanting. Like I was wanting like a little bit more of like a white variegation, and I'm happy to announce that we finally got it. This is its first leaf since being in the more like bright area that I've put him in, and look at that variegation. And this leaf is big and pillowy and shiny. I just love this plant. And I like how this one's like almost like a half moon, but it's like a variegated half moon, you know? Well, like a minty variegated half moon, you know? Anyway, so we are going to move on to my monthly favorites. So number one, this is a newer one that I have not shown or talked about yet. It is a Hoya, and it is the Hoya Patcharawalai Icensis Splash. I got this plant from Cactus and Exotics on Etsy, which if you're into Hoya and you've not like checked them out yet, highly recommend them. That's where I get like a majority of my Hoya from. They're just like, packaging is amazing. Their shipping's really fast, and I've never had any issues with like their plants not making it really. But this one, I was very fortunate to be kind of just like browsing when they did their refresh. And like, I was just like in the right place at the right time. So I was like, you know, it's like a sign for me to get it. But it was like, I could see the new plants being like added like as I was scrolling. But I saw this one and it was just like amazing, obviously. Immediately fell in love. Love the splash. Love how, I was surprised at how large the leaves are. I was not expecting such a large leaf when I saw photos of this. But yeah, and then I also really like the black margins. That's something that I just really, oh, geez Louise, come on. I'm just like really, really attracted to in Hoyas, is this like black margin along the edges. And then combined with like the really dark leaves with the kind of like creamy, it's like a warmer splash. It's like a creamy, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a creamy minty splash kind of. And I've not had this one for very long. So this did come with the new growth. At first I thought it might come off because it was a little bit pale, but it does have the startings of 2 new leaves, which you probably can't see. They're like right at the base of these 2. And then we've got the starting of 2 little new leaves right here, which is not going to focus to show you, but just take my word for it. There are 2 little new leaves right here. And then the tip actually looks pretty healthy too. So cannot wait for this one to start growing. I will definitely be propagating this and trying to get some new growth points added back into the same pot. The next one, this is an Anthurium that I've had for quite a long time, and it was struggling a bit. I think it was, the majority was like I was not watering it enough. This was, being one of my like first Anthuriums, I wasn't used to it yet, you know, like I needed some time to get accustomed to like, they don't like to dry out all the way and the humidity. So I've got a humidifier now and I'm doing better with like the soil mix and all that. But this one is an Anthurium Ace of Spades times Papillomenum. And that is crossed with a NoveltyG Ace of Spades. I cannot remember. I definitely got this off of Etsy, but I don't remember the exact seller that I got it from. And this was the leaf that it had for a really, really long time, which is a really beautiful leaf. Like, it's like the dark velvety minimal veining that we all love. But it put out this new leaf, and at first, like, I didn't notice the veining quite as much. I think because it was lighter. And now that it's getting pretty dark, I just think this veining is kind of crazy. Like, it's got this like really fat, this like really chunky, thick veining. And yeah, it's totally bizarre. And this leaf is a little wonky, so I don't know if this is going to be like a consistent thing. Like, we're going to see this again on its next leaf. But it is certainly an interesting find right now. I'm really hoping that it does keep this like really like lumpy, weird veining. It's also kind of, I don't know, it's not necessarily pink, but it's kind of got like a little bit of a rosy tint. So we'll see. Y'all send me good vibes that this veining will stay like this. This one, super common plant. This is a Homalomena rubescens, I think, like emerald, green emerald or something. This is just like the standard green variation of the Homalomena. And I got this off of clearance from Lowe's for like $10. And I don't know what it is about this plant that I like so much. It has just been so easy. I think it's just nice sometimes to have a plant that's like not difficult. You know, it's not finicky. I think as you kind of like get into the rarer plants, especially like Anthurium and things like that, like some of them can just be really finicky. And I feel like you're always like, you know, on your toes, like trying to prevent browning or make sure everyone's watered or whatever. This one has just been like, I don't have to do anything. I mean, you know, obviously I have to like water it and give it light, but it's just been like totally easygoing, no crusty tips, no wilting. I just make sure, you know, to water her when her soil's getting kind of dry. And just like this spread, I love this really full, she just looks really happy. She's just like a happy, pretty, joyful plant is what I feel like when I look like this. Like it almost reminds me, this, I feel like it may be a weird comparison, but it almost like makes me think of like if this plant were a bird, it would be a swan. You know, like that's just like kind of the vibe that this gives me with like these elongated, it's very like elegant and like classy and classic, you know, like super shiny. She just looks really healthy and pretty, like with that minimal effort, which is really nice when you're having to put so much effort into plants all the time, to have like some that are just like totally easygoing. So highly recommend this if you're looking for like a fuller, easygoing, just really pretty plant. And I just really love her. I can't wait until she gets bigger. She's been growing like a freaking maniac. Obviously when you get them off of clearance at a big box store, like, and you bring it home and you give it any kind of care, it's like, yeah, it just goes crazy, you know? So it's just been so much fun watching her like every day, just not having to worry about her. And she's just always pretty. On the theme of like very full, voluminous plants, this plant, I would not say that this plant has been difficult, but it is one of the only ones that I've had a really ongoing battle with thrips. I think I finally kind of got them under control as like the systemic granules kind of like work their way into the plant's system. She had thrips off and on forever, and it is just like such a relief to get to the point where I'm like not turning over the leaves and seeing little black bugs every single time. Oh my God, I literally thought I just saw one, but it was just dirt. my heart just stopped. But this is the Schismatoglottis Wallichii. Schismatoglottis Wallichii, I believe. But look at how, like, she is robust. Look at this plant. And I have her, I just have her sitting in my bathroom, and I had her like on top of the shelf where she was not getting as much sunlight, and she was doing okay up there. But once I moved her back down where she was getting more of that like filtered light, that window has, it's like one of the ones that has kind of the film on it that's like you can't see through it. It's like a privacy film or something. But once I moved her back down, she's been living her best life, you know? And she's just so like bouncy and like nice. You know, this is another one that's just like, honestly, this plant has been really easy for me. She does get a little bit more humidity. It's a little bit warmer in my bathroom, but it's not like anything crazy. And now it is very thirsty. So I would worry, honestly, that I overwater this plant, because pretty much any time that I'm making rounds and I'm watering something, like I always water it. So it probably gets watered 2 or 3 times a week. And it doesn't care. Like if you want to be, I guess like more precise, or maybe less precise, honestly, if you just kind of want to not deal with it quite as much. She is a little bit dramatic, whereas she's kind of like a peace lily, but not to that extreme, where if it starts getting thirsty, its leaves will really start drooping down. And there was a point before I kind of like came to the realization that I could just like water it every single time, and it was like never enough, where I was kind of letting it go too long and it would kind of droop, and then I'd have to go and water it. But I wouldn't even say that it negatively impact the plant to water it like that, because I would say it's like a little bit fuller now, but it wasn't like, I didn't notice any crispy tips or leaves that were yellowing off very often. This one very rarely loses leaves. Like, it's always putting out leaves, but I feel like it's rarely losing leaves. So it just stays really, really full. So as long as you water it consistently, I feel like that's like the number one thing to keep on top of is the watering with this guy. But yeah, like these leaves, I just love the variegation. They're so funky. They're like very It's like very ridgy, you know, and it's got this cool like highlight around the edges. And I've seen people saying that they're seeing these come back in the big box stores now. Like, I think I'd seen a couple of people say that they found them at Lowe's or something. So if you like this plant, I would definitely keep an eye out, because I think the trending tropicals maybe is starting to put these back out again. This is my Hibiscus Cooperi Variegated. And this plant, like, look at these leaves, y'all. Like, this is such an interesting plant to watch grow, because there's such variation in the leaves for the variegation. Like, you have leaves that are like this. Obviously, too, it has like the pink, which is really, really pretty. But you have leaves that come off with this kind of like splotchy variegation. Oh my gosh, come on. Come on, man. And then you have leaves that are kind of like sectoral variegation, but it still kind of has that spotty look. We've got leaves that are more minty, more white. This one's got a lot of that sectoral variegation. It's a little curled up, but you can't really see it on that one. This one you can. And it just seems like every other leaf is totally different. Like it looks like they've come from totally different plants, the way the variegation develops. And also when they're younger, they hold on to a lot of that pink. So you can see there's a lot of pink to these lower leaves, and kind of as they get towards the top, it turns more white, but the stem is still very pink. Let me flip around if you can see in there. So very pink stem. But she's just been so beautiful, and she's actually bloomed for me twice. And up here, she's actually getting ready to put out another bloom. And I will stick a photo on the screen just so that you can see what those blooms look like. They are incredibly beautiful. Of course, like hibiscus blooms are just like totally beautiful. And I do have this right up against a south-facing window, because they really love a lot of light. And this one's also very thirsty. So I'm always having to water this. I just up-potted her, and I had her in 2 separate pots, but I just put them together in one, because, you know, sometimes it's like you don't want to deal with multiple smaller plants of the same thing. Like, I just put them all together in one pot. But she does seem a lot happier since I've upsized her, because she's holding on to moisture a lot better. So she really likes a lot of moisture, likes a lot of light, but they will bloom indoors if you want to give it a shot. I got this as a starter plug. Where did I get this from? I actually think I got this from the plant farm as a starter plant. And she's like, hibiscus in general are just like really fast growers, or the varieties that I've personally had. So she's grown quite a lot in the last like 6-ish months that I've had her. Of course, with it going into summer and it being like warmer and stuff, she does enjoy that a lot. But this one has not been necessarily difficult. Another one, just lots of light and keep on top of the water. And the last one, this is my #1 favorite for the month. This plant is kind of like it's kind of like that hibiscus that I just showed you, where all of its leaves are just doing something different. I love plants like that, where it's like you don't really know what you're gonna get. It's not like the same variegation for every single leaf. It's kind of a surprise when it puts out new leaves. And I think, okay, so the leaves that it came with, I'm gonna try not to show you like the best one. I'll say that for last. So it came with, this is one of the leaves that it came with. So this one's kind of like totally this like lime color. So that's like 100% variegation. And it's actually held on to that for a really long time. So I think this is one of the ones that, because the variegation is kind of like this like creamy, like lime color, it doesn't have as high of a chance of just like dying off, because it's not totally white. But yeah, so it came with that leaf, and then its next one was this one. So again, we're like the same lime type deal, but it stuck out this like little green ear up here, which is super cute. And then the next one was this one. So this one, we're really getting more of that like Aurea type variegation up here in the corner. And this is kind of like the opposite. Like the previous one was like only green on the ear, and this one's only variegated on the ear. But the variegation is kind of like a little bit minty up in this corner here. So I was kind of curious as to what that was. Oh, and I didn't say what this was. So I bought this as it literally said Homalomena Schismatoglottis. So I don't know. To my understanding, those are two different plants. So I really don't know. I mean, I would say this does quite remind me of my Schismatoglottis, but it also kind of reminds me of the Homalomena. So maybe it's like a cross. I don't know. Honestly, I did not research it at all. I just saw the variegation on those first two leaves, and it lost one leaf. So the two leaves that it came with, I saw the variegation on those leaves. I was like, that is so interesting. And it was like not very expensive. So I was like, I would just give it a shot and kind of like see what happens. And I'm really glad that I did, because the variegation has been so interesting. But one of the main reasons it's my favorite this month is because this is the new leaf. So this just, I don't know where this came from. It decided to go full mint. But I was just like totally shocked that it came out with this variegation, because it's just so different from these. This is that very sectoral variegation. Solid lime. No minty. A little bit of minty like right in the corner of that. But by no means was I expecting this. So that was such a fun surprise to kind of like watch unravel. It's such a gorgeous variegation. And honestly, I'm normally not into so much of that minty variegation, but there are some plants that I really like it on. Like this one, that Hibiscus Cooperi, that one does kind of have like a little bit of minty variegation. And then even I would say the Philodendron Giganteum, like the blizzard one that I showed you, that one's a little bit minty to me as well. And so I mean, I like it on those, but I would not like, I don't know, like the mint Monsteras, like mint deliciosa or mint Andersonii and stuff. I'm just not really like into that type variegation, but I think it looks really nice on here. And again, I really like this leaf shape, this like really like textured leaf with all these like ridges. And I think it just has like a nice stature, like the way the leaves stand up. It's just very pretty, very pretty. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me for this month's favorites video, or technically last month's favorites video, since I'm a little bit behind. That is all that I have for you for today. Hopefully you saw some cool new plants that maybe gave you some ideas for ones that you're interested in. If there's been a plant that you've just like really been loving that you found a little bit unusual, definitely leave it in the comments below, because I would love like what plant people don't like discovering new plants, or like something kind of like funky that's going on with a plant that may be interesting to grow yourself, you know. If you like this video and you're interested in more plant content like this from me, please subscribe. It would mean so much to me, and I appreciate everyone that has interacted with my videos and subscribed already. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.